Live from a new angle. Hi everybody. We are going to have some wall space today, or like ideally if you have some wall space today that would be great. If you don't, it's going to be doable, but just a little different. So I'll give you a second to set yourself up so that you've got some wall space. Sorry, I'm just fixing the music. Where's the playlist? Recently added. Upper bod. Here it is. Okay. Here we are. So today we'll do upper body themed. Yes, Jordan's here. Mom's here. Great. So take everything. Can you give options for no wall? Yeah, totally, Cash. Cash, I almost just made you the host of the downward dog class when I was leaving. And then I was like, no, she's coming here. If you don't have a wall, it'll be okay. Yeah, it'll be okay. But I'll show you, and the wall just will be like feedback, but you're gonna do the same things that we're doing, just with no wall. How about light? Is light useful? A little tiny bit. So set yourself up, and we'll start with movement that, again, Cash, or anyone who doesn't have a wall, you'll set yourself up so that you're seated. If you do have a wall, use it, and press your spine into it. My hip flexor friends, aka like if it's really hard to sit like that, then you can use a block and sit on that, or maybe a couple blocks, or even a couch cushion or a good chair, just so that when you sit like this, your knees can be a little lower than your hips, just so you're not straining and like only thinking about your hips while we're here. We're gonna do some arm stuff. So once you've got yourself seated and situated, I'm just gonna move this so that I don't hit it off the wall, because Hooch will freak out, he's a baby. Okay, so you're sitting against a wall if you have one, and if you don't, you're not, and that's fine. We'll all do it together. So have yourself so that your back can be flat if you are on a wall. If you're not, just use your hands for a bit of feedback. Hi, Shireen. And then have the hands so that you've got space for a cactus. So hopefully you have space for this. If not, again, just be away from the wall, but be really mindful of where you're at. So press the back of the body, including your lower back and your ribs, into the wall behind you. And lift your arms, kind of sliding them up and toward each other. Ooh. Pause at the point where you can't keep this back, so I'm only going to go to here. And then I'm going to lower down. It's kind of terrible. Didn't say it'd be nice. We're prepping the shoulders so they can do some fun shoulder stuff and act like shoulders. So as you do this little wall slide, I know it looks like I'm not doing anything, but this is like taking quite a bit of effort to keep my shoulders on the back wall, my back on the wall, including lower back, and these naughty little ribs that just want to pop forward and like be delicious. Okay, so 3 more. If you're not shaking, I don't know. And make sure your head's on the wall too. So sometimes head wants to jut forward. Woo! My back of arms is already like dying on fire, so I'm sliding against it. Hooch is here as my support animal. Thanks, buddy. You're nice. And back down. What a nice guy. Last one. Ha! Reset. Everything into the wall. Keep it in the wall as you lift your arms. So I'm still keeping my elbows bent, as you can see. And then lowering back down, and just take a break from that because it's wild. Ugh, how do you really feel, Rachel? Okay, so from that space, let's work away from the wall, but still at the same spot. So that's just like one little baby warm up. Make your way into hands and knees. I'll tilt this down. So from hands and knees, just round your spine like an angry cat. Inhale like that. Then back bend to cow as you breathe out. 3 more times. Inhale, round your spine, angry cat. Exhale, breathe out, back bend. Last one. Inhale, angry cat. And exhale, back bend. So now keep your spine neutral. And if you had a block, I know I keep throwing props at you that you don't have, but you could place it on your lower back to keep that still. So you're not going to cat-cow your spine, but you are going to move your shoulder blades. Sink the chest down, squeeze your blades together, then puff your chest, move the blades apart. Hi, Hooch. Chest goes down, blades squeeze together. It's my breath stink. And then puff. Do that again. Oh, is your tail wagging? Yeah. So you're protracting and retracting your shoulder blades. You're squeezing them together and moving them apart. Hi. And if you've done this a lot with me, you can do this here as you are. Oh my God, except I can't because there's a dog in the way. Or you can always step back to plank. You can do 4 more in plank. Or other option in between, the intermediary would be lifting your knees off, having your shins hovering, and moving your blades. Last 2. I'm tired by now. Woo! Last one. Puff your blades, hold them puffed. Make sure your head has not dropped. Take another breath. Now lower your knees down. Okay, so since some of us might be at a wall, I'm going to show you this option here. Some of you have asked about, like, what about if I don't have a floor? Wait, no, you all have a floor. They're like, what if I don't have a table to do the push-up modification? You can do it at a wall. You can also do the scapular thing that we were just doing at the wall. So that will just give you different feedback. You can really keep zippered up from ribs to hips as you do it there. Just for future reference, we're gonna move on for a second and not cook the shoulders all at once. Lay yourself down onto the back. Knees bent, soles of feet grounded onto the floor. Arms pressed beside your body and like press them down into the floor quite a lot, like you're doing a chest expansion. Now curl the hips up, rolling your spine bone by bone toward a shoulder bridge. Stay at the top, keep zipped up between pubic bones and your ribs, or like the pubis and the ribs, just meaning like there's still some core contraction, not a back bend, and roll back down 1 bone at a time. For 4, 3 counts, 2, and 1. Roll back up for 4 counts, 3 counts, 2. So create this like kind of pendulum, rolling the spine down and rolling it back up. 2 more times. Here we're waking up the glutes, which are a very important part, in my opinion, for a strong push-up. Like maybe, to me, more important than a lot of other things, other than the shoulders, obviously. But I find that when people get their butt online with the push-up, hold this bridge, everything else starts to come into place. So make sure that you've got some activation through your seat muscles and behind your legs. If you don't feel that, try to pull your heels isometrically towards you, and that should light those suckers up quite a bit. Then we dip. So instead of rolling, dip your hips down and dip them back up. That doesn't make sense. Dip and lift. Down, down, up, up. Low, low, high, high. 4 more. And you might notice little like wavers. Maybe one foot has more weight in it than the other. Try to keep them even and press your feet down into the floor. Last one, hold. Try to push the floor lower than it is by pressing into your feet and roll down through your spine 1 vertebra at a time. Once you're at the bottom, just stretch your legs right up towards the ceiling, heels together, knees and thighs in a bit of turnout. Hands behind the head, especially if your legs are like especially tight, you can always bend your knees, that's fine. Try to keep them straight. Curl upper body into a curl and lower back down. And that's what we're doing. So legs are actively stretching through the backs, because when you want to do like handstands and stuff, you've got that open. 4 more times. Think lengthening back of neck, then curling up and lowering back down. Last one, curl up head, neck, and shoulders. Hold at the top of your curl. You won't be able to see my legs, but you can tell. Right leg lowers down and stretches back up. Left leg lowers down and back up. And you might be like, how low? Well, it's not how low can you go, but it is how low can you go keeping rib to hip. So if this like spills out, no bueno. Rein it in. One leg lowers and lifts, other leg lowers. Then turn it into a scissor. So switch the legs like somewhere mid-air and keep looking towards the hips, trying your best to keep them level and not wavering. Last 4, still in a bit of turnout. 3, 2, and 1. Lift both legs straight up to the ceiling, maybe curl up slightly higher, take a breath. Catch the backs of your legs and rock your way up. Flip back over. Second round of scap push-ups. So again, sinking chest towards the floor, blades squeeze together and puff them apart. In this set, because you're a little warmer, maybe tuck the toes with the knees or maybe do it from a full plank. Choose your own adventure day. You're puffing and squeezing. And I think earlier this week, or maybe last week, we did some that were more like circles. You can do that too if that's not totally confusing, but just try to get some mobilization where your shoulder blade and rib cage meet each other. One more time if you're going in a circle, and go the opposite way for 4. If you're going straight up and down, keep going straight up and down. Last 2, squeeze your butt, especially if you're in plank. Final 1, hold in the puff, 2 breaths. Lower the knees down. Sit back towards child's pose with your arms extended. So we'll call this extended child's pose. Let your head rest towards the floor and take 2 breaths. Then I'm gonna stay here, but you can pop up just so you can see if you want. But you'll stay in a child's pose position. You'll just turn your thumbs to face up, 2 thumbs up. And then with your 2 thumbs up, head is still on the floor. Try lifting your right arm straight up. Hold it lifted. See mine barely off the ground. Then pulse, little up, a little down. Little lift and lower, up, down. You might be asking to turn the music up. Like up, up. It's the clean version. 4 more times, up, down. 3, 2, switch it up, other side. So left arm lifts a little. Try to lift it up slightly higher, up and down. Little up, down, down. So what you're doing here is you're actively working your overhead range of motion. You should still look at the floor. I'm just looking at the camera so I'm not talking to the ground. Woo! 4 more. Up, down. 3, 2, 1. Lower down, relax. Roll yourself up towards the seat. Then flip back around. Core activation number 2. Arms reach forward, lay yourself down towards the floor. Once you're there, hands behind your head, support your noggin. Curl up head, neck, and shoulders. This time keep your feet on the floor to start. Twist it to the right. Little rotation, center, left side, and center. So as you twist, imagine your open elbow can twist to the back part of your mat. 4, hips nice and still. Even weight, cross the butt. Last 2. Final 1, twist to the left. Hold through center, up and down. Little up, down. Small pulse. 4, 3, good. Hold this one. Full breath in. Exhale strongly. Lower down head, neck, and shoulders. Okay, keep your head on the ground, lift your legs up, cross one ankle over top of the other. We did this yesterday, you probably loved it. So press your legs into each other, try to curl up your butt a little, and then lower down your butt a little. Woo! Hold up. Hey! There it is. Little lift, little lower. So trying to lift the tailbone like kind of towards the ceiling, but also curling the hips towards your nose. That makes sense? Last 2. I feel this. Final 1. Hold the butt lifted. Smoke weed every day. Eat worms every day. My favorite thing about that, like, non-expletive version of that is that ending version where it's like, what? Smoke worms every day. Okay. So let that go if you didn't already. Sorry. Then rock your way up to seated. There's one more thing. I'm going to show this at the wall. And then I'll tell you, I think, how to do it not on the wall for my friends who don't have one. But it's really useful feedback. So you'll sit up against the wall like we did when we started. Elbows out wide to the side, little cactus-shaped arms. Press your ribs back, press your head back, and try to keep your arm bones glued towards the wall. And you'll rotate, not very much, like wherever you get, where you still keep your arms on the wall. Can you see I'm shaking? And then back down and try to go beyond 90, a little bit like your hand can go towards the wall without this happening. So you're not like a funny skeleton in a Zelda thing. I've been playing a lot of Zelda. And then go back out the other way. Okay? So if you don't have a wall, you can do it not at the wall, Or you can use your other hand. We could do this at the wall too. Your other hand for like a bit of resistance. So again, it's that idea of the thing that we've been doing the last bit with the functional range of applying resistance in your end ranges of motion. Here, what we're doing is getting into your external rotation, that's what this is, then into internal rotation of the shoulder situation. Because we want the push-up, we want a sick push-up. Okay, 2 more. But more than that, we want to just feel really strong, because that's cool. It's a nice feeling to have. Capable, strong, with a touch of grace. Okay, last one. Feel really graceful. And lowering back down. Try to get down past 90 without elbows lowering. Ew, then let that go. Shake it off. Okay, so here we are. We're totally prepped. I mean, like more or less for a push-up. So this way, you've got support from your core, support from your butt, and shoulders on. Go ahead and find your way into a plank. 1 piece of steel from head to the heel. This is better. Ground your palms, press into the floor to puff your shoulder blades apart from each other. Then imagine your mat is very slippery. Try to pull your hands to your toes quite a lot, and that will quote unquote pack the shoulder. We'll lower down for a tempo. So 4 counts. 3, 2, 1. Stay at the bottom. Hover your hands off of the floor. Widen your collarbones. That should kind of pull the shoulder tips down the back a little bit. Keep that. Ground your hands down. Use your knees, squeeze your butt, and press your legs up on your knees. Does that make sense? Press up into a modified plank. From your modified plank, then straighten the legs. We're working the eccentric, the lowering. So lower down for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold. Lower down. Lift your hands up, widen your collarbones, set your shoulders. Ground your hands down, legs are strong, knees stay down. Press up quick, then lift your knees off, and we do it again, rinse, repeat. So as you bend your elbows and lower for 4 counts, imagine pulling yourself to the ground. Hold on the floor, reset what you need to, use the knees, help your way back up. Keep going. So try 2 more like that. That would be called like an eccentric push-up, or you're working the way down quite slowly to get the muscles to work that kind of like do the lowering. They work to lower you under less load, because on the way up, they have to use more load to push you. Cool? Okay, you did 2 more. Great job. Now lay back onto your back. It's like forward, back, front, back, flip over, cha-cha-cha. But I'm just trying to give you breaks so that your wrists and your shoulders don't cook. Okay, so cross your other ankle over top of the other leg. You'll know that, I won't know. Hands behind the head. Take a breath in. Lengthen back of neck and curl yourself up as you breathe out. Inhale down, exhale lift. A little quicker than before, lowering and lifting. Press your legs into each other. So that should also like turn on some stuff in your hips to help stabilize. And then go a little faster. Down, up, low, high. Let the head just follow along for the ride. I just caught myself doing some weird head stuff. So, you know, we all got tendencies. We gotta check in with once in a while. 4 more. Woo! 3. Last one, hold at the top, breathe. Okay, so from this shape, release your hands forward. Try to keep your legs squeezing together, but create a bit of a rock forward and back. 2 more. On the next one, flip yourself right over into a plank. Really cool. I hope you didn't watch that. Second set, lower down 4 seconds. So 4, 3, 2, 1. Hover the hands up. Maybe you don't use the knees, you just keep the legs really energized. Just press up fast. Cool, so lowering down for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hover hands. Press up fast. 1 more, down for 4, 3, 2, 1. Hover hands. Press everything up together. Lift your hips, downward facing dog. Take a little bit of a walk through your feet, let one knee bend at a time. From there, let both heels settle. Just take 2 breaths in a downward facing dog. Find the actions of wrapping your outer armpits towards your inner armpits. 1 more breath. Walk your feet to your hands. Keep your hands pressing down as you tippy toe toward them, which will mean your back has to round a bit, especially as your feet get close. Roll up through your spine, bone by bone, for 4 counts, 3 counts. Heavy noodle arms, 2 and 1. Now lift your arms overhead. And let's do a little bit of like a fun exploration here. So with your arm overhead, take your other hand to your ribs and notice where you can get in your range of motion before your ribs do the action of your arm lifting. It's gonna be different for all of us. So as I lift my arm, lift, 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 lift. This is pretty good on this side today. We're like nothing compensated for it. So if I can't get into this range of motion in this position, then downward dog and like a handstand are gonna be pretty friggin' hard. Okay, so just keep that in mind, is that if like this juts forward, then when you take this shape into a different shape, the same problem is still gonna happen. So we have to like mobilize ourselves and strengthen this overhead range of motion. Lower that arm down, just check the other side. It might be different. So as you lift your arm, just feeling where you can lift it without your ribs jutting forward. Almost think about sinking the ribs towards the floor. Try to hug the arm right beside the ear if you can. That's where we're eventually going without like this all happening. Good faces today. Okay, lower your arm back down. So that's a good experiment. Try both at the same time. Then if it's helpful, maybe find a little mirror and more unnaturally than you would, tuck the tail down, tuck the ribs down, then lift both arms at the same time. And I'm saying that not because your posture should always be like that, but like when you're in a handstand, you're not going to be in normal posture. You're not usually bearing your hands, your weight on your hands, right? Staying for 4, and ribs in, 3, 2, and 1. Now shrug your shoulders up and unshrug the shoulders down. Shrug your shoulders up, ribs stay grounded in the body, and lower back down. Keep going. Have your palms flexed, like you're pushing the ceiling up and back down. 2 more. I just realized it's going to be helpful if you see something. Last one. So push the ceiling up and away, and then back down. Now look at the screen if you're not. So when I say armpits wrapping to heart, this is what that looks like. So this is not doing it. This is wrapping armpits to heart. You want that feeling of shoulder blades kind of coming onto the back when you're in an overhead position, whether it's down dog or whether it's a handstand. Hi Scotty, this is so exciting. So in your overhead range of motion, just notice where you're at without your ribs compensating, no back bend, almost tucked a little. 2 more breaths. It's a lot of work, it ain't pretty, but it'll make you have more fun. Okay, lower the arms down. Whoo, shake it off if they got kind of cray-cray. Do your hands move when you rep? Good question, Sasha. Yes, they do. So if I show here, look at my hands, and when I wrap, oh, they go a bit into turnout. So that's okay. What's that gonna translate when my hands are on the mat? Like, lift your hands overhead, do the wrapping, and then lower your hands down until you're in like a kneeling plank. And in that kneeling plank, you might see like maybe your fingers angle a little outward. And if that happens, this is probably what your down dog and plank pose should be like. So rather than having index fingers forward, have them a bit turned out, it's great. Down dog when you're ready. Try to find that action, wrap armpits to heart. I think Scotty has a different cue, like outer armpits in. I think I talk a lot about the armpits. I feel like it's a Skylar Grant thing, or maybe Kate. Armpit to heart. 2 more breaths. Try to keep puffing shoulder blades. Wave to plank. Wave forward. Wave, 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 wave. So in your plank, again, check out the hands are under chest. Maybe you're turned out through the hand. Puff between your shoulder blades, but widen your collarbones. Then shift a little forward. Bend your elbows. Lower for 4 counts. Remember, eccentric. 3, 2, 1. Reset at the bottom. Make sure shoulders aren't dumpy. Have them down the back. Lift your hands if you need to. And then press into the palms, either through bent knees to modified plank or straight up towards normal plank. Try 3 more. So a really great way to build your yes, turned out wrist. Yeah. But a really great way to build your push up is by strengthening the way down. One more and then take a break, and I'm going to show you one other thingy, which we've done previous days, but it might be a helpful review. Here's my table, along with all those shirts and things I've discarded on it. So, table is a really great thing, or like the side of your couch, whatever it is you want to use. You'll set up your hands. So yeah, Sasha, your hands might be a little turned out. I love that. I'll encourage a lot of people to do it quite often. And then leaning forward so that when you land, about like nipples will be about on the table. Might take a bit of adjusting. Feet can either be together or sitting both distance apart. But as you lower, you're just trying not to let the shoulder round forward first. I'm almost thinking about doing a bench press, like I'm widening from elbow tip to elbow tip, widening a bit across here. And that applies whether you're doing a quote unquote chaturanga push-up or tricep push-up, or if the elbows are going a bit out. Just trying to find this width and not rounding forward through the head of your arm. Try 2 more like this. It's always 2. Then press back up. You can, if you're at a table, kind of use it for a bit of a stretch, but do keep that armpit to heart feeling. Just so you're not hyperextending and like splatting out like a pancake. Breathe. Pulling back up towards a normal position. So here's the thing. If that thing that we did in child's pose with your arm overhead, where I was getting you in child's pose and trying to lift and lower your arm up a little, if that was really tricky, do it. Do it again. And that's going to help your overhead range of motion, which is going to eventually inform your handstand. If you miss that part, you can always have a block under your forehead too, or even if you advance it, start with your hand on a block. I learned this from Matt Fippen the other day. So you'll have thumb facing up, head on the floor, and you want to work where it's difficult to lift the arm, but you can. So you'll have your head down or not. You'll lift your arm barely up, hold, it's going to shake a little, and then try to lift, lower, up, down, in that uncomfortable range of motion. About 10 times, then hold and lower. You'll do the other side, so arm is straight out. And even if you don't have child's pose with like your ass on your heels, just make a little pillow, that's cool. But find some creative position where you can have your arm in an overhead range of motion, which looks like this here when on our stomach. And you'll lift a little and lower a little. Lift a little. Wow, this side is so much weaker. About 10 times. On the last one, hold the arm lifted. Mine is shaking like crazy, which means that I'm accessing stuff that is weak, likely, and a little bit like offline. I'm making new connections of body and brain. How cool is that? One more breath. And then lower. Okay. We've done a ton of stuff to warm up being in a handstand. So if you feel like it, here's our fun time. If you gotta go, it's been half an hour. You probably heard my voice enough. Cool. If you want to continue, let's try the walk-ins again. So starting with your hands on the ground, toes walk up to the wall, and keeping your legs zippered up tight together. Walk your hands towards the wall. You might end up in a handstand. If you get there, try shrugging and unshrugging. And honestly, in this position, it's difficult, but I'm really trying to wrap my armpits to my heart, and that action is hard for me here. Once it feels like you're at the verge of like the point where you might not be able to come out safely, come out before that happens. Take a moment. We didn't do the most wrist prep today. If you want, in between, you can take a little bit of like passive wrist stretching or some of the active stuff that we've practiced before. Like, here's the thing is you have a Rolodex of so many things we've done over the last 2 months that like you don't really need me anymore. If you've been paying attention, then you should be able to like kind of program some stuff for yourself that should be good. And that's my ultimate wish for you, is is that you don't have to show up here like every day at 1 p.m. But you're like, oh, this thing is feeling different in my body. Like, oh, I have this set of tools that I could do intuitively. You don't need a teacher. You already know all this stuff. We just have adapted our lifestyles in a way that we kind of forget. If you're still following, we're just in a casual plane. I do also think that like pulling and doing some resistance band stuff is of equal merit if you're just like doing a lot of this pushing push-up stuff. But these are my tips. So someone asked this week of like, what are the tips if you don't have a push-up yet? Well, those are my tips. Number 1, work on, I know it's motivating. We're keep doing this, don't worry. But I'm just saying, you don't really need me. So work on the lowering part of your push-up, count to like 4 seconds. And then eventually you can work to the way up. That's number 1. Number 2, move to an object like a table so that you can still have straight legs and not just have your knees bent all the time. That's my number 2 thing. Number 3, and we haven't really gone through this. I got excited. I saw Kate was here. Kate, I'm just talking about armpits to heart. Get them in the heart. Number 3 is try different types of push-ups. So if like you only ever do a chaturanga push-up, you don't have really a shoulder. Instead, maybe try to also do some wider push-ups where you're working more pec. Maybe you try to get some freaky overhead push-ups like Catherine Bruni-Young. So here's one. It's from a down dog. Make a Hove sign like Jay-Z, Hove! And you'll place your triangle on the ground. Then lift your hips up. So in this position, like in a down dog kind of, butt in the air, we're again wrapping armpits to heart. It's different here. And then trying to lower the top of my head towards the ground and pressing up. So my elbows will go out towards like, 45 degrees and up. Like a little triangle. They follow the path of where the wrist is leading. Woo! And you can work on that. You can also work with your arms apart doing that, kind of like leaning more forward. I have to bend my knees to do that, but lowering down and up. You might have like pillows under the forehead when you first start that one, so that in case you fall down, you got something to protect your face. Okay, in a weird mood today. Wednesdays, hey? Are there any other questions about push-ups? If I can't easily walk onto the wall with my legs up, that means I still have to work on my strength, right? Yeah, and I think like, you don't necessarily need to get to where you're like vertical. You can work to the point where you're like here. And D, if you can work here, that's great. In here, do the same thing. Like imagine you're in a handstand and really connect your legs into your core. But like that's a lot to ask. And if you're like me and you like are an adult mover, you didn't grow up doing a bunch of gymnastics and other stuff, give yourself time to adapt. You've got your whole life to practice this stuff. So make it your whole life to practice it and not just like force and kick up and do all kinds of crazy stuff that might like hinder your joint function. Make sure that you have a shoulder, which is like a Matt Fipponism. Like have your shoulder and make it work like a shoulder before you like demand a lot of it. It will respect you back for that. Okay. Peace out. It was really nice to have a little like pop in from Scotty Mac and Kate, even drive-bys. Those are 2 excellent yoga teachers, P.S. if you don't already know them. Scotty Mac teaches at Union and Downward Dog. You can find his classes there. And Kate teaches, she's in Vancouver, but the beautiful gift of COVID is that now that ain't so far. So she's teaching through a couple different studios online. And if you look at Kate Gillespie Yoga, you won't regret it. I feel that my fingers work a ton trying to keep balance. Jordan, that's perfect. That's what wants to happen, because when your fingers are doing the rebalancing, that's actually like the muscles in your forearms that are doing that work for you. Yeah. And Mom, sorry, this class wasn't the most accessible for you. There's a lot of inverting. Tomorrow will be better. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Try to go outside. It's sunny in Ontario.